there's actually passages in the Bible where the prophets actually got trembling. Yes, I believe Jeremiah or someone. He trembled when he saw angel Gabriel. And this is what I'm saying. If you see an angel, a being who is not human, a being who is out of this world, and if you experience that, you'll be scared too.
But if he was having an epileptic fit,
he didn't have an epileptic fit.
He would be scared, wouldn't he?
He didn't have an epileptic fit.
But he
What
was.
makes you say he's had an epileptic fit?
He went there. He had the experience. Yeah. He came and he saw his wife.
He was scared. That's all he was.
Scared.
What's
Yeah.
an epileptic?
Just because you're scared doesn't mean you have a
fit at all.
He said he felt a crushing in his chest, something crushing in his chest.
No. That's not what's explained there, is it?
No.
The angel, it specifically states the angel was crushing, correct?
Oh, well.
Now we're jumping to...
There's no one to actually corroborate that angel being there. No one actually saw it.
Look, you're right. There is no eyewitnesses in that particular instance, just like there was no eyewitness when Moses went to the mountain and got the 10 Commandments.
No.
However, with regards to both Moses and with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that wasn't the only experience he had with an angel, where the angel would bring down and give him the revelation. There were many times, even during the sitting, while the companions were sitting with him, yes, the angel would come and reveal to him. In that instance, they would know that he's getting revelation.
Oh, so they actually saw the angel as well?
No, they didn't see the angel. The angel wasn't visible to them.
Oh, so the angel was sitting with them?
Yeah, but the way...
But could they hear the voice of the angel?
No, they couldn't. The way Muhammad would react, because when the message would come, it would be as if a huge, there was a powerful force around him, and he would actually feel that force. And by his expression, they could tell that he's getting revelation. And he would be sweating, and he would be basically, this is the way they would understand that he's now getting revelation.
Innocent, there were one time he was in a camel, and the camel sit down.
By the force.
He could not take.
Yes.
The
weight.
camel could not take the weight, so they immediately.
So these were examples in which
the camel couldn't take the weight of what?
Of Muhammad when he was getting the revelation.
The revelation, yeah.
So
basically, what happened is
so the angel had a weight.
It could be a gravity, you could call it gravity or whatever you wish to call it.
Look. What we know is that this camel couldn't basically take the burden of when Muhammad received the revelation.
So the camel fell down.
The camel literally sat down at that point because of the weight. So while it was walking, that is while the camel was walking, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was seated on the camel. He received the revelation, and the camel just sat down by the weight.
Evidence to support this.
The hadiths are the evidence.
Yeah, they saw. This is a description that they painted.
So he was on a camel, and then the camel stopped and sat down, and he started getting this revelation.
Yes.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
Not while he sat down. Actually, while it was walking, he got the revelation, and at that point, the camel sat down. But you see, the best evidence of what the Quran is the Quran. Is the Quran itself. Because you see, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not learned. He was called the Ummi. He's called the unlettered prophet. Okay, imagine someone.
That story that you said, you see how people want more evidence to support that story.
But I'm giving you the evidence. If you listen to this, then you tell me whether that's evidence enough to suggest that Muhammad got a revelation from God or not. At the time of Muhammad, yes, the Arab scholars and the Arabs who were there, who were very good poets and very good in terms of literature and prose and so on, yes, they actually heard Muhammad's recitation of the Quran. And when they heard this, they would say, this is not from him. Yes, and they would start calling him like a madman or something like that, many different names. Yes, and a magician as well, yeah. And this would tell them that what they are reading, what they are hearing is definitely not from him, because he doesn't even know how to read and write. Imagine someone, listen to this.
How to read and write.
Now,
how long was he getting these revelations for?
For over 23-year period.
So why didn't someone teach him how to read and write in that 23-year period?
Because that wasn't the purpose of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
It's more accurate. Whilst he's getting the revelation, if he could write it down himself, I mean, someone could easily teach him in about a year
but hear me out. Let me finish what I'm saying. I'm saying, imagine someone who writes, for example, a book, yes, and he writes it in perfect English. He writes it in a perfect prose, and his structure of grammar and everything is absolutely perfect. And then he turns around and he says to you, I don't know how to read and write. Would you believe him?
Would I believe him?
Yes.
If he wrote it down?
Yes.
If he wrote it down, then obviously he can read and write.
Yes. Yeah? No, he claims that that book is something that is his, yes, and it's been present to you as his. Yeah. But when he met you, he says, I can't read and write. Would you believe him?
I believe that someone has actually taught him how to read and write, so therefore he's written that book.
Yes.
Or someone else has written it for him, or something like that. You know?
Yeah. So that's a question you would ask him, isn't it? You would ask him, did someone write this for you? But you see, a person who's who's unlearned, who didn't go to university, who did not go to school, yes? Do you really think he would be able to come up with structure and prose and language? Yes, as compared to a person who actually studied at the university level. Yes. Do you really think that it would basically be the same in terms of the way they structure the language? It'll be different, isn't it? Someone who is unlearned, yes, they'll have a very rough language, rough in the sense that maybe there might be grammatical mistakes, there might be mistakes in the way they structure the sentence, they might be using words which are very simplistic when you could use some, when you could use something more sophisticated in terms of forming the sentence. You would tell from the structure of the sentence, and you could actually gauge the understanding that this person is probably just someone who barely knows English.
If God is all powerful, yeah?
Yeah.
Then surely God could have taught him how to read and write, you know?
He could have. But like I said, that wasn't the purpose of God.
No, but so when he actually is reciting what he's been taught, yeah?
Yes.
And someone has written it down, he can say, because these are fallible people, he can say, well, this is not what I actually said, you written it down wrong. And he can verify it. I mean, if you're dictating to me something, and I'm writing down the dictation, and you come and proofread it afterwards, and you may find a lot of grammars and errors in it.
Yeah.
Now, Muhammad is the only one that had revelation firsthand. He can't read it and see if there's any errors in it. So they might have written down with errors.
Yeah.
And considering it's written down in pieces of parchment and stuff
He
like
can't
that,
read, but can he hear?
he can hear.
So imagine you wrote something, I dictated something to you, and you wrote it down with an error. Yes? I will ask you to read it back to me. Remember, I know what I dictated. Yes, because I memorized it.
Oh, Muhammad memorized.
Of course, he memorized the entire Quran.
So every time he had a recitation,
He would memorize it.
So in 23 years,
He memorized the entire
whole
Quran.
thing, yeah?
And not only that, every year in the month of Ramadan, the angel himself would actually come and ask Muhammad to recite the Quran to ensure that this is double checked for quality and for what it's being recited in terms of any mistakes or any errors in memory or in terms of the way he recites it.
If he memorized it, why did they need to write it down on pieces of parchment and pieces of bone?
Because you see, in the time of Arabia, at that time, 1400 years ago, the paper, the papyrus, whatever it was very expensive. So they would write it on whatever was available at that time. Not only that, the primary source of the way it was propagated, the Quran, was by memory. Because you see, the Arabs at that time, they had very good memory. They would remember the genealogy of their horses. Yes, that this horse's mother was this and this father was this. They would basically have such in-depth knowledge in terms of memorizing that they would memorize things like that, which to us might be mundane, which might not even be relevant. They would memorize poetries, lengthy poetries, yes? And you see, there is also evidence in the Iliads, you know the Iliads, which was written by, I believe by, what's his name? The Greek guy, Homer. Yes, so Homer has written, and at that time they say that this was basically written down from memory, or written down. It's a lengthy tale, you know, the tale of
Gilgamesh.
Not Gilgamesh, probably not that, but it's basically the story of Greece, you know, when Greece and the Romans and basically when they used to have wars and so on. It's all this mythology of the Greeks and the Romans, and it's quite a lengthy one, and they say that was written from memory. But anyway, what I'm saying is that, you see, Muhammad was able to understand what people, when they recited back to him. So when those scribes used to recite back to him, he would tell them he would either correct them or tell them to put these words in a particular location within the scripture of the Quran. So they would know.
How would they know? Like, say for instance, you're taking that Quran out of Mecca, Medina, you go into Africa, Somalia, and you're using your voice to translate it to a different language as well.
No, it's the same language. The Quran is always in Arabic, my friend. And that is the beauty of the Quran. You see, it is translated.
It's translating it to English now.
I totally agree. It is translated, but that translation is not called the Quran. There's a difference between the Quran and the translation of the Quran. And the translation of the meaning of the Quran even. So what I'm saying is that if you go to Somalia, you go to America, you go to Australia, or you go to India, you will find the same Quran in Arabic recited by Arabs and non-Arabs.
Yeah, but isn't it translated into different language so they can understand it?
No, it is translated, I agree. But remember what I told you, the translation is not the Quran. The Quran remains from the time of Muhammad until when it's
Well,
when God wishes
someone
it
gave me
to.
the glorious Quran, it's translated into English.
Yeah, of course there is translations
And
of the
they say
Quran. I'm
there's
not saying
some
no.
translation errors in it, you know, which is,
Yeah,
this
you
means
see the
something else.
translations you'll find different. Like for example, if you read the KJV and the NIV, you'll find different wordings
Yeah.
for the same verse. This is basically the translation from the original into English, because not everything in Arabic can be rendered into English. You have to somehow look at the culture, look at the idioms, and translate it instead of translating everything literally. Otherwise, it won't make sense to you. So there is something always lost when you translate it from language A to language B. So that's the reason we always keep it in Arabic, regardless of your background, regardless of where you're from.
But I can't understand Arabic, yeah?
Yeah, then
Especially,
then you rely on the translation.
You got classical Arabic as well. People say you got to learn the original Arabic, which is not
Yeah.
being used today, you know?
It's used to it, of course.
But the classical Arabic
Yeah,
is still
the
being
classical
used.
Arabic is used today. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
But I can't, I mean, someone's giving me the Quran and it's in English,
Yeah.
And they say, well, you can't really understand it unless you learn Arabic and read it in Arabic.
Camera over there. They're blocking the view.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like a disadvantage to me. And like, when I look at it, I think to myself, there's so much confusion, especially even in Islam. You've got different sects of Islam. You've got Sunnis and Shias, Ahmadiyas,
Yeah.
and you've got Sufis. You know, so there's so many different belief systems in Islam as well.
Yeah, just like any other
In
religion.
Christianity,
yeah.
it's even
Yeah.
worse. It's about 40,000 different denominations of Christianity.
I think all the faiths, even the Judaism, even other faiths, they all they all have this different sects, different interpretation of the original. But you see, if you find in all the different religions, you'll find one mainstream.
but
Yes,
they do
there'll be a
have to-
mainstream, and mainstream Sunni Islam. Whenever it comes to the Quran, trust me, even the Shias, even the Ahmadis, even these people, they are actually unanimous in the sense that they all agree with the Quran, that the Quran is how they interpret it.
And also one other thing.
Do you understand that? There's a difference. Even the sects of Islam, they agree that the Quran in Arabic is what it is, and they read it as
I was
such.
trying to go to Trafalgar Square today, yeah?
Yeah.
You got a fantastic celebration, Diwali celebration, yeah? And some of my friends have gone over there because
Okay.
they're Hindus. Really nice people.
Yeah.
Now, God is watching these people from centuries following this belief,
Yes.
which came before Islam, before Christianity,
Yeah.
and having a fantastic celebration. These are really good people.
Yeah.
Now, if the Quran came about, and it's the one true word of God, and God can see all the different belief systems, you've got Christians, you've got Islam, you've got Buddhists, why can't he resolve this? By coming
Resolve
down
what?
and telling people, right, all you guys, all worship the wrong religion, these guys are right.
What makes you think that if God came down, they would believe him?
Because if he showed himself, if he was a parent, then he
Isn't that what the Christians believe, that God came down? you see what
It
happened?
caused more diffusion.
By your own admission, the Christians themselves have fallen into so many different sects. So you see, just because claiming that God comes down and tells everyone, first and foremost, when you say God comes down, he has to first relate to you. The only way he can relate to you is for him to become a mortal, a human being. And that wouldn't be God, that would be someone else then. You see what I mean? So your logic and your understanding of God coming down, it doesn't really work, because what happens is that no one can see God and live. Yes, look at the sun itself. The sun is a creation of God. When it's really a sunny day, even in Britain, yes, are you able to look at the sun directly without being affected by it?
No, you get blinded, yeah?
Yeah, so you will have trouble looking at the sun. Remember, this is the creation of God. Not only that, this is like billions of miles away. I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands of miles away. How can you stand God himself, who is mightier than all this creation, all the stars put together? Yes? How will you be able to see him? And that's the reason you cannot see God and live, at least not in this world. But in the hereafter, you will.
Christians believe that God was humbled himself, yeah, to become a man.
Yeah, that means no more God then.
And live yeah, but that's what he did. That's the whole point of it.
So it defeats the purpose of God coming down
He
then.
didn't become he became a human being
Yes.
for 30 years, or 33 years.
And then got killed by his own
And then
creation.
he got created, yeah.
He got killed by his own creation
Yeah,
then.
that was what he's.
Does it even make sense, bro?
doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
it
So
doesn't
that's the
make
reason. Anyone who says that, why doesn't God come down as a man and then tell us all to come together? Because
But you're saying
because
that makes
this
sense. But 2/3 of the world's population, yeah, believe in this Christianity.
it doesn't matter.
More than
It doesn't matter, my friend. The point here is this: it's not the the quantity of people who believe or disbelieve. You know, very soon there are countries. Actually, there are already countries in northern Europe. Yeah. So if you go to places like Scandinavia, the number of Christians have dwindled in comparison to atheism. Atheism has caught on there. So you'll find some places where it's 70% atheists. Just because.
in this country is 52% atheist.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just because the number of atheists have grown in this particular region, it doesn't mean atheism is correct, is it? So that logic also doesn't work. It is not the number of people. It is what you are being taught, and whether it makes complete sense. You see, because if God gives you a particular revelation, yes, He's going to give it to you in such a way that it makes sense to you, that you're able to reason with the intellect God has given you.
It's better to be open-minded and be prudent and say, maybe I can be wrong, I can falsify my own beliefs. And if I test my beliefs and think, I could be wrong in this, you might find that you are right, yeah? But if you're not willing to test it...
No, but God has given a falsification test already. If God has given us a falsification test in the Quran with regards to itself, when God says that this is, we have revealed the book, we have revealed the zikr, and we have preserved it. So this is one way that God is telling you that He's preserved it. Now another verse tells us that if this book is from anyone other than Allah, surely you'll find discrepancies and contradictions in it.
But then that's a circular argument. Because
No, hear me out. My friend, you didn't let me finish.
Yeah.
Let me finish. Okay? Quran is basically open itself to being critiqued. Yes? Now you tell me that, you see, that all you need to do as a person who's not a Muslim, yes, as a person who wants to challenge the Quran, is to find a single contradiction.
Contradiction.
Yes, that is what the Quran's challenge is. Find a single contradiction in the Quran, and then you will prove that this is not a book of God.
That's what
The creation story...
But is that a fair test?
Yeah, the creation
Is that a
story.
fair falsification test? Good. So now all you need to do as a non-Muslim is to prove that. And you know what? Trust me, many people over the centuries have tried it,
Well,
and
I
they
find the
failed.
creation story in the Quran is contradictory.
Really? Go on. Give me something from the creation story
What was the first
of the
thing-
Quran.
What was the
I was
first
talking to this gentleman.
What was the first thing that Allah created? So was a pen, yeah?
Allah says, yeah, it's a pen. Some say it's the throne, but there are differences of opinion. So what is the contradiction? I want to know
How can
that.
you create a pen? A pen is made out of heavy materials, you know?
Oh my God.
Whatever
Is that the
made out-
pen you think? A literal
maybe-
pen?
Back in them days, pens were made of feathers.
Bro, do you really think a literal pen?
Well, it's not a literal pen.
It's not a literal pen in the sense that we see it as a pen.
Okay,
It can be, look, it's a metaphoric term in
a
terms.
metaphorical pen.
Yeah, it's a metaphoric term, maybe referring to what God created.
How do you know
And
what's
we don't
literal or
know.
what's
We don't know what
metaphorical?
kind of pen it was. We don't know whether it was a quill or basically it was a pen, because you know earlier they didn't have pens.
But you could
They used to
have a
write with the
quill.
feathers.
How can you have a quill? You create a quill when you have a
I'm not saying, look, I'm not claiming I know what it is.
Yeah.
All God said is that He created this, but how is it a contradiction? I want to know.
But it's a contradiction.
Whatever form that pen is in, I want to know where is the contradiction.
Right, a pen will be made out of heavy elements, yeah? And the first thing that
That is a
created-
pen you're thinking of.
well,
You see, you got a perspective of
it's
a
a magic
pen.
pen. It's a magic pen.
We don't know what kind of pen. I've just
Well, I
told
call
you.
it a pen then. What are you going to
Because you see, this is a pen in the sense that you and I don't know.
And what's he got a pen for? To write on something, isn't it?
I don't know myself.
So what's he going to write on?
Allah wrote, for example, Allah wrote in, it's called the preserved tablets. Yes? He wrote the entire Quran, for example. He wrote all the other revelations which came. So he wrote it, and we don't know what kind of pen it was or what kind of preserved tablets these
So he
are.
wrote this before he created the earth.
Yes. Before he created anything.
Alright,
Not
so he
only
used a
that.
pen and wrote it on tablets before there was anything like rocks or...
There you go
Worried
again.
about that?
You see what I told you
Why don't
about?
ask about the tree in Jannah?
Because it's a contradiction. He asked for a
Don't you
contradiction.
understand? There's no contradiction.
Sorry, I need to take this call quickly, but I'll be back. Can someone just finish that? Yeah. Just... Hello, Assalamualaikum.